This is probably the most undeserving game I won. Even chess.com's comment here, a wild game and you came out on top. Here, let me go through and commentate. All right, so I'm black, white starts, brings out his pawn, the middle. I go with my typical bring out the bishop. I like to bring out my bishop here to attack the rooks. He protects his pawn. I bring out my bishop. He brings out another pawn. I'm probably going to prepare the bishop here. Probably not. So I brought a pawn in front of the king, because I've learned that it's important for the king to have some breathing room. My next move is to bring out this pawn so that I have the option to bring out the bishop. He brings out his horse. I'm going to eat the horses because I find them stronger than the bishops, especially if they know how to use them. And it's more of a headache to deal with because I have to predict so many moves. So I'd rather just get rid of the horses right away, the opponent's horses. So brought out this bishop to get rid of this horse. He cannot move his horse because of the king. Regardless of what he does, his horse is gone. So will my bishop. But I think I'm on top in this exchange because I find horses stronger than bishops, even though they're both equal to 3 points. All right, so he doesn't do anything. I go for his horse. He eats my bishop. I'm going to go for his next horse. He's going to eat my bishop. But now my rook is open, so I have to block him either by bringing out this pawn, which I will. He brings out his pawn here. I bring out this pawn here to attack, to give room. And you never know as well. It might end up being a queen at the end. He brings up his pawn, attacking both these pawns, but they're both protected. Most likely he's going to go for this pawn. I ate his pawn. He's going to eat mine. I'm going to eat his. He brings out his bishop, but my rook has room, so I'm going to move my rook. He castles, so he's getting ready to use his rook. I want to attack his bishop, so I bring out the horse. So even if he can eat my pawn, but of course my pawn is protected by my king. I bring out my rook to eat this pawn for free, hopefully. He brings out his queen. His queen can attack my horse, but my queen it protects my horse. I can no longer have this pawn for free because his queen is there. I'm going to castle so I can bring out the rook. My horse is still protected, although this pawn here is not protected, so this is a mistake of mine. I made a lot of mistakes in this game. That's why I'm telling you this is a game that I won undeservingly. So this pawn is not protected, but he doesn't go for it yet. So he brings out his bishop. Probably eventually he wants me to move my horse. In case I move my horse, he's gonna come in with his queen, of course, and check me or mate me. All right, so I'm gonna attack his queen by bringing out my horse over here. He goes for that free pawn. And then I make a very stupid move here. I try to attack the queen with my rook, but my rook is not even protected. It took him a while though before eating my rook. But yeah, he got my rook for free. So I'm down 6 points at this point. At this stage, I'm down 6 points. So you know what? I go for his queen because if he decides to protect his queen by running away, I'm gonna eat his rook for free. So that's what I was going for. So if he eats my queen is protected. So it's a 0 exchange. But if he decides to move out of the way, I'm gonna have his bishop for free. So plus 3 points for me. So he goes for the queen. I eat his queen with my rook, and now I'm going for these. So the bishop gets out of the way, gets my pawn, but I'm gonna eat him with my king. And I'm gonna go for this bishop next, but it's obvious he's gonna protect it. So yeah, he protects the bishop. And now here's where the fun begins. I'm telling you, horses are super strong, and here's the proof. I'm not even thinking 3 or 4 moves in advance. I just know that horses are strong, so I start attacking with my horses, and look what happens. He brings out his bishop, so now my pawn is in trouble. I'm probably going to move my pawn forward so that this pawn is protected by this horse. And now he's attacking my horse with his pawn, so I have to move this horse. So I move this horse here. Now the pawn is no longer protected. He goes for the pawn. Now this horse is at risk, so I'm going to have to move the horse. I move the horse here. He's going to attack them both. In one move, he's threatening both horses. So I make a move that allows me to protect both horses. So he can't eat this horse and he can't eat this horse because they protect each other. He goes for another pawn. So at this point, I'm down 6 points again. Now I move my horse to attack his rook or his bishop as well. He checks my king uselessly. I just move my king forward. I like to move my king forward because I kind of like to attack with my king. It makes a difference at the end of the game. He brings out his pawn. I go for his bishop. He cannot eat my horse because I'm going to eat his rook if he eats my horse, either with my rook or with my horse. He checks me again for no reason. I move my king forward. He checks me with his pawn. I move my king forward again. He moves his king forward so that my king cannot go here or here. And I think that's where the mistake begins from his side. So I want to attack his rook. So I bring my horse here. This horse is still protected by this rook. This horse is attacking this rook. So now he's going to have to move his rook if he doesn't want his rook to get eaten. He decides to check me. I'm going to have to back up. No problem. I think now he protects his rook by moving his rook. But now if I move this horse here, I check his king and his rook at the same time. So I'll get to eat his rook. So yeah, so now I'm checking his king. He's going to have to move the king. And now I get to eat his rook for free, although he's going to eat my horse for free as well. But I'm still up 2 points on that exchange. So now my horse is in trouble, but I'm simply going to move here to attack, to check his king. And there you go. And now based on his next move, which he should have thought out, but he didn't. He should have gone here or here, he should have gone far from the rook, but instead he decided to go here. And by going here, I get to check his king and eat his rook at the same time. So there you go. King checked, rook will be eaten. So I took out 2 of his rooks while I was down 6 points. And now his rook is gone. But he actually made a good move with his pawns. He was attacking my king very well with my pawns. I had to back up again. Every time I go forward, he makes me back up. So I'm using my rook to eat his pawns. But he keeps attacking me with his pawns. So I'm going to go for his other pawn. He moves his king. So I'm trying to go for this pawn here. But he moves his pawn to attack me. So I'm going to eat his pawn with my pawn. He's going to come back with this pawn. I have to back up. Now he's attacking me again. I move sideways. He brings his king forward so that he can attack me with this pawn. And I can't eat his pawn. But at least I ate this pawn. And then he attacks me. He checks me with his pawn. I really have to back up. It's becoming dangerous. He uses this pawn to come closer. Or at least to get a queen. I check him just to give me some time. And now I'm expecting that he's going to attack me with this. So I need to make sure that I want to eat this guy even if I lose a rook. But I'm going to get a queen out of this one because it's got a clear view. So I start my pursuit of the second queen. I could have eaten his pawn here, but I was too busy trying to get a queen. But that was another mistake I made. So I'm going for the queen. He's going for his queen. He's trying to mate me. He's pretty close. I think if my rook wasn't there, he could have mated me with his pawns. All right, so probably could have gone here. If I didn't use my rook, my king would go here, but then he would bring his pawn here. I would probably eat his pawn, and then he brings his king forward, and then he brings his pawn forward, and he gets a queen easily. But I decided to sacrifice my rook so that he doesn't get a queen or mate me. He eats my rook for sure. I eat his pawn, so there's his queen. Basically, these pawns are going to be queens, so they're worth a lot. And I'm going to eat his pawn right here as soon as it moves. I don't care if I lose my horse. I've got a queen coming soon. So there you go. I lose my horse. I get my queen. And at this point, he just resigns. Although I don't think he should have resigned, because who's to say I would be able to check him with my king and queen? It is obviously possible, but he doesn't know that I'm capable of doing that. Plus, he could have gotten a stalemate out of it. So anyways, he resigns at this point, and I win the game. So yeah, so that was the end of this game. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.